Hey, hey, welcome and happy
No,
Wednesday. Do you see some familiar faces, Rory?
I'm just having a scan. I think I saw some familiar names. Yeah.
If you know Rory, just react a bit. Let's give him some love, people. No.
Cheska, we know each other.
Yeah, yes, we do. Okay, see, you have
Oh,
fans,
Pat,
Rory.
hey.
This is amazing. Okay, welcome and happy Wednesday, everyone. We're going to be starting in a few minutes. Let's wait for more people to join in. And if you're new to Reframe, I'd love to get to know you. Please share who you are, where you're joining in from, and what your role is. So at least we get to know each other a bit. If you are not new to Reframe, you know the vibe that we're trying to do here. So we really love for these sessions to be interactive and for you to share questions, thoughts, and perspectives that you might have as consultants and agencies. So yeah, I'd love to get to know you to get this relationship started. Okay, you can see. Thank you, Rory, for taking the lead. I'm
All
Cheska.
good.
I'm also working for Miro. Very, very happy to have you here. Okay. While we're waiting in for more people, just to set the scene, right? So this is a series called Reframe. We've been doing this for a while now, and the whole idea is to actually take a look or reframe how we're working as consultants and agencies, because the old and traditional ways of working aren't quite working anymore. So we want to rethink what great client work looks like. So every session, we have this every other week. We actually bring in a practitioner who's living this change and who wants to share with us what they've learned when it comes to how to reframe great client engagement, ways of working, how their team setup is like. And today is going to be a very interesting one because we have Rory with us. Woohoo! Some team
Oh,
love there. So Rory is his session is going to be very interesting because he sat on both sides of the table. So he has been in agency world before, where he spent over a decade as an innovation consultant, helping orgs like Condé Nast and The Guardian actually design and launch new products. And now he's over on the dark side with us at Miro, where he's working as our principal product evangelist. And that's such a cool title. He has the most awesome job in the world. And he actually works with a lot of orgs on how AI can reshape collaboration and how teams can bring ideas to life. And today, he's going to be sharing about how at least from his perspective, how the consulting playbook has changed, how it was initially built on this idea of scarcity because everything around building and was really expensive. It was you needed to make sure that all the bets you did as a consultant was right because the stakes were high. But now that building is so easy to do, working prototype takes hours instead of weeks to build. What actually happens then? Like what happens to the process? Are the methods we rely on still the right ones that fit the purpose? And where do consultants actually create value when everyone can build? So that's a question we'll be touching on today. I won't steal his thunder, so he has much more to say on this topic. So I'll pass it over to him. Thanks, Rory.
nice. Thanks, Cheska.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Hope you are doing well. I was. Oh, I think I just need to request screen sharing. Or Cheska, if you make me the.
That should
Sorry, it's
be.
my bad. I had some internet issues before, and now I've moved. I've rejoined the call. I've moved into the kitchen, which is very hot. I hope anyone who's in London is surviving this heat wave. I saw someone's joined from Scotland. I am taking the train to Scotland to see my family this evening. So I'm looking forward to some like slightly cooler weather. But great. Okay, let's get into it. I have some thoughts. Oh, sorry, joined. Press the wrong one. I do work at Miro, I promise. Oh, it's you've started the presentation. Join. Cool. Okay, yeah, I have some thoughts to share on this topic. I think, yeah, ever since the dawn of ChatGPT, that fateful day, the press and the kind of articles about what's happening to consulting have been like there's been a broad spectrum, but it's kind of the narrative has ranged from, consulting is dead, it's obsolete to like, oh, consulting
Hello,
is
Steph.
going to be more, more important than ever. But I think, the reality is obviously consulting, depending on your practice, is being reimagined, and I want to share some thoughts on that today. But I don't think it is as binary as the news makes it out. Cheska, I'm just going to take over from you.
Of course.
But nice. Okay, so this was a kind of bold type. What is the value of consulting when everyone can build? So Cheska gave a great introduction to my background. So yeah, I do have this like pretty crazy title at Miro, but it basically means that I work with some of our largest enterprise customers to help them get the most value out of the platform. And a lot of that most recently has been helping them with their AI transformation. I work at Miro, so I'm keen to like showcase to you a couple of the functionalities that we've built, which could help you in your practice as well. So there'll be a couple of demos in this session. But yeah, as Cheska mentioned, my background is in consulting as well. So I'm going to focus a little bit more on innovation consulting today because that's my background. So it's product and service innovation. I worked for a consultancy that was originally called Flux, and then it became Magnetic Flux, and then became Magnetic. It's an independent consultancy, but we work with some amazing clients across, as you can see here, media, utility, financial services, FMCG. And primarily, what I was focused on was helping our clients build on the ideas that they had for new products and services and bring them to market. But sometimes this expanded into building innovation capability. And we built a training proposition while I was at Magnetic as well. So lots of fun projects. I'm going to reflect a little bit back on a couple of them today. But yeah, so this is the agenda. I'm not going to swear, but I'm going to reflect back on a couple of projects I worked on in the past just to kind of make sense of some of what has changed and almost like reimagine how we might have approached these opportunities and these challenges we were working on with clients if we had the AI tools that we have at our disposal today. And then to make sense of some of those shifts or what's changing, I've tried to distill it into three shifts. They're my thoughts. I'm really keen to like see if they resonate with you and what you're seeing in your practice, and then we'll kind of end with some thoughts on how to embrace this opportunity. But yeah, keen for it to be interactive. Please use the chat or even come off mute if you have a question. If you've been to these sessions before, I'm sure you are used to Miro's engage functionality by now. So yeah, keen to kick off just yeah to hear from you to begin with. So if you have your phone, you can scan this, or if you want to join on desktop, give it a scan and add in the code that you see there. And yeah, the first question I am keen to ask you all is, yeah, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about the AI's impact on your consulting practice? Are you feeling pumped and ready? Are you kind of curious but cautious, slightly terrified, or yeah, everything's changing so much? Ask me again in 6 months, please.
Love how we have a lot of AI optimists here.
We do. Yeah,
Because whenever you look at LinkedIn, the opposite kind of is true.
it's true. Yeah. Nice. Okay, so we're pumped and we're quietly cautious and we are yeah, aware of the fact that things are changing rapidly all the time, which I agree can be slightly terrifying. So I'm going to reflect a bit on like some of the projects that I worked on in the past, what's changed. But yeah, keen to ask just two questions, simple questions. Just if you think about the past 6 months or the past 12 months, what do you find yourself doing less of with your customers or your clients, and what do you find yourself doing more of because of the shifts that we are seeing? So the first question is, yeah, what are you spending less time doing with your clients at the moment? Okay, interesting. Yeah, translating, research, generating project plans, documentation, presentations, writing emails, yes, admin. Okay, talking to real users. I'd be interested to dig into that. Is that like because of using synthetic users, or is that because the client expectations are changing? Um, nice. Yeah, this is really interesting. Any that stand out to you, Cheska, here?
A
gathering
lot of the
input.
research work. I think this is very similar to what we're also hearing in the field, where a lot of the
Mm.
I forgot what they termed it, intelligence-full
Okay, yeah.
tasks are being outsourced now. But I'm
Yeah.
curious to know, would anyone want to share out loud how it's actually happening for their practice? Okay, I guess not for now.
We'll build up the
We'll
confidence.
build that now. Yeah.
Or we'll use the spinner wheel to pick someone. Although you have to be on the board to do that. Um, okay, yeah, this is fascinating. I'm thinking maybe at the end we could do a sort of like AI synthesis of this as well. Okay, so what are you spending more time doing? A lot of great answers for what you seem to be spending less time on. But has this translated into spending more time on particular things? Um, our founder CEO talks about this kind of shift of like from um, 20% thinking, 80% doing to the opposite. So less time doing. So actually kind of the stuff that was coming up on the last slide around, maybe the data analysis or the project plans or creating presentations. So it's kind of like the getting into the weeds, doing work and more time actually thinking, picking the right thing to build. I know that Todd did the last session, right?
Hmm.
How to build the right thing. And I think that yeah, requires more space to think, more time to collaborate, facilitate
Yeah,
effectively. Cool. So let's see what we have coming in. So yeah, building things, actually doing doing
that's amazing.
the work. More time talking about AI is definitely guilty of that. Partnering on more complex things, yeah, that's nice. Actually, kind of taking on more like ambitious problems. Um, Figuring out how to be more efficient. So like kind of more thinking time to do that. Definitely more debugging. People are building more things. There's a council by-election. My doorbell just rang, but I think it's someone trying to encourage me to vote for Lib Dems or Greens, so I will ignore that. Um, nice. Oh, there it goes again. I will leave it. Cool. Any that stand out to you here, Cheska?
It does seem like it's a lot more on the doing, but there's something interesting there around debugging and educating clients and talking about AI. I guess we see that a lot in the work that's like we've even heard some consultancies and agencies shifting the work from pure delivery to much
Mm.
more around
Oh,
AI advisory, implementation, and also enablement for teams. Okay.
yeah.
I guess the Lib Dems didn't okay, all good. I hope Rory's all good. How about would anyone want to share a bit more around yeah, their answers here? Or even like I'm curious to understand like where are you getting a bit more of pushback from clients at the moment when it comes to
Sorry about
type of
that.
work you're doing?
Great.
No worries, all good.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, this is fascinating and yeah, really cool to see what everyone's put here. So I wanted to just kick off just kind of reflecting a bit on some of the projects that I worked on. So casting mind back, this was actually in 2018, so pre-generative AI, pre-pandemic. But this was working on a project for Condé Nast. So we were helping them with their digital transformation. So moving from print to uh, more of a digital focus. That came with like a lot of kind of operational changes. But we were also experimenting with new propositions. So this one was exploring an opportunity to create a new product or service focused on fashion professionals. But what I remember distinctly about this project is having this physical space, which almost served as like the brain of the project. And work is like, especially at Miro, we're such a global company now, and we figured out some amazing ways to uh, collaborate when we're not in the same place, obviously. But back then, we had this place, and it served as a brain. We gave our stakeholder presentations here. We sent our updates around here, and it was a really effective way of keeping the team context and the project context in one place as we moved forward and ultimately developed and launched what became Vogue Business. And then a few years on, another project I worked on in the media space was with The Guardian. So we were looking at ways to enhance the supporter proposition. You've probably seen the asks for um, donations when you're on the site. We were thinking, how can we enhance the overall proposition by designing new products and services based on the strengths of The Guardian? And The Guardian's always had loads of great recipe content, been very strong in food, but most of the experience was still in print or some of the websites were online. So we were thinking, how could we create something that could enhance this experience and become a new sellable product, basically. So back then, even in 2022, so not that long ago, we were, following the tried and tested methods of doing the research, synthesizing it, deciding, what opportunity we wanted to focus on, doing a lot of workshops, coming up with some ideas, and then politically fighting for design resource to bring those ideas to life as prototypes, testing them out, maybe doing another kind of hackathon style event, and then ultimately kind of working our way towards a working product and proposition that we could take to market. But typically, this took a while. Like we had all these methods that, to Cheska's point at the beginning, were kind of developed slightly around a scarcity mindset because it's expensive to build software. And we develop these techniques like design thinking, that's where the double diamond comes from, to diverge and then diverge and then converge, and then also methods from like Eric Ries and the lean startup to test assumptions early. But you were never really building a kind of real version of the product, and you also, had to place your bets quite early, and it risks, maybe missing the best solutions or not exploring the hardest problems or the most exciting ideas. So even if we think back to like 2024, when it comes to prototyping and vibe coding, it feels a bit like the caveman era, to be honest, going from wireframes to people not feeling confident enough to prototype and not really having enough expertise on the team to bring ideas to life, and then good ideas could just like die a death, basically. But now things have changed. So just to illustrate this, if you've already scanned the code, you can use the same screen. Um, but just to kind of bring to life how much prototyping has changed and how, like, in the very moment in a workshop with your client, you now have the ability to actually bring their ideas to life in real time, which is exciting, right? So let's build a cooking product together right now. So if you scan again or if you just reload the page, what are we going to need to do? So let's imagine you're the client, I'm the consultant. We're brainstorming some ideas. We want to bring them to life. Maybe we are, exploring a few different angles. There's an angle around like convenience of 15-minute meal plans. There's sharing recipes with family and friends. Or maybe there's, something a bit more ambitious, which is, generating a list of recipes based on what's in your fridge. And that is literally like an idea that we had, but we didn't really have the capacity all the time to explore. And I can see, nice, that is popular amongst us. Definitely solves a problem that I have, especially when things are going off in this hot weather. Okay, next one. Let's pick a brand color together. Red. We like red. Blue. Oh, blue. But is it green? Teal. Green. Okay, looks like green is winning out this tough battle. And then last but not least, let's pick a name.
That's very opinionated. Bake it till you make it. But
Looks like bake it till you make it is
yeah, clear.
cool. Okay, so obviously we've used Engage, but like you could imagine using a Miro board to bring these ideas to life, or you could just be sketching pen on paper. But now we have these tools with AI to actually bring these ideas to life and make them feel real. So you can see here that anything that is kind of has data in it on a Miro board, you can use this feature called flows, and you can transform it into something new. So you just drag it, and then you can see the list of formats here. And I have selected the prototyping format. So I'm just going to click run. And what it's basically doing is it's taking the input of our ideas and it is translating it into a prototype. So we'll come back. We can see the progress that's been made here, but we should be expecting something that is maybe both green and orange, is focused on, I think the fridge one came up top, and it should be called Bake It Till You Make It. So we can go from, ideas gathered in a simple workshop and actually bring them to life, iterate on them in real time. And it also means, we can start exploring more of the solution space as well. So here I've been kind of exploring this like fridge Rader idea of how to get recipes based on what's in my fridge. Down here, I've brought to life the convenience angle of like 15-minute meals. And then thirdly, here's a prototype of the community angle of sharing recipes with my family and friends. And so this was kind of unthinkable and like unimaginable before, to be able to actually bring these ideas to life in real time. And we can even take it a step further now by if you connect your Miro via MCP to whatever coding or AI coding or vibe coding tool you use, you can select the relevant context, so the spec for the idea basically, and you can send it just as a link to the Miro board to an AI coding tool. So I did that, for example, with the refrigerator idea. I just copied the link to the Miro board, just told it what the relevant context was, and now I have a working prototype here. So I can click on the upload. I think I have a picture of a fridge I can add. It's not actually my fridge. My fridge is not as tidy as this. And then I click cook up recipes, and it should, all being well, generate a list of recipes. Here you go. What's spotted in your fridge? Omelette with bell peppers. Nice. Sounds delicious. I will definitely try that. But yeah, so it's being able to collaborate as a team, bring those ideas to life, explore multiple solutions, and even bring some of these ideas into code as well. In the caveman era before 2024, this would have just been completely unimaginable. So that is a demo of like what's possible today. We might need to come back to our prototype towards the end of the session because it's still working away. But yeah, so I wanted to show that to you just to demonstrate kind of A, what's possible, B, what has changed. And now I just want to step back and just kind of like reflect a little bit on what these shifts represent and how we can kind of step into them. But these are just like some thoughts and reflections that I have had, but really keen to hear like how this applies to your practice more importantly. So yeah, what's the first shift? Well, we've spoken a lot about that kind of scarcity mindset of not being able to really explore the full solution space. Now we can almost explore arguably too much of the solution space. There's been a complete reversal of like going from testing and iterating to being able to explore like the full solution space. And to some of the points that came up of like what you're spending more time doing is that does this mean we can address bigger problems, more exciting opportunities, and arguably to what Todd was speaking about in the last session, does this make us does this increase the probability of building the right thing if you're coming at it from the perspective I am of how innovation and product and service innovation consulting is changing. But it is quite a lot to like get our head around because we've adopted all of these like very tried and tested methods of from I think Spotify encouraging us to build the skateboard before the scooter and then the bike and then get to a car. And then suddenly we're in this position where we can just build arguably, like five Ferraris, or maybe not quite Ferraris to be, if it's vibe coded, let's say a Nissan, but it's something that works. I can upload a photo of my fridge, I can get recipes and I can put this in front of a customer and see if they like it, and it feels much more real than what we were capable of before. And so this is a shift in like a literal sense of scarcity to abundance in terms of like how much of the solution space we can explore. But it is also a bit of a mindset shift as well. Like we can encourage our clients to step into this and not say no to too many things, say yes to things because we can explore more in less time. But this, of course, brings with it challenges. Speed does not equal alignment. And this question of like, can we build it? Well, we probably can. So, should we build it becomes a much more important question. We need to lean on our expertise in the disciplines where we are experts to have that sense of better judgment, basically. And I think, like in answer to first shift, that's where like the value is going. It's not like we didn't do these things before as consultants, like good discovery, good storytelling, good facilitation. This is like consulting bread and butter, right? But it almost becomes even more important now because of this abundance. Like we need to find that clarity through aligning on the right problem. We need to help clients with that direction and that vision. And I think storytelling becomes more important in that. And then the thing that I feel passionately about, and I think is becoming even more valuable, is good facilitation. And this in part is because we can do more together now. So that relates to the second shift, which is that the kind of nature of working together and consulting can actually shift from this a delivery relationship of being briefed and then going away, working on it, coming back, presenting it back, to more of a focus on co-creation. Um, so what does this look like? Well, typically in the kind of consulting projects that I might have worked on in the past, of course they were collaborative, and you saw that photo of the working with the team at Condé Nast. But sometimes it felt, a bit like a kind of conveyor belt production line of the client gives the brief, we go away and do our bit, I hand that over to the designer to like bring the idea to life, and then they present it back. It's not kind of as collaborative as it could have been, but that was kind of the nature of the work. Things took longer, or it took longer for ideas to be brought to life. So I feel like there's this exciting opportunity here to move from the production line or the delivery method to more of a kind of co-creation. And I don't know if anyone has seen this documentary about it's called Get Back. It's the Peter Jackson documentary about the Beatles. I think it's the writing the like Let It Be album. Anyway, they had to write 14 songs in a very short amount of time. But they do it just sitting together as a band. And it's funny because there are little snippets of it which are like proper real masterclasses in brainstorming and co-creation. Like there's one moment where I think George Harrison says, he doesn't like this song or this chorus, and they snap back at him straight away with saying, "Okay, well you've got to come up with something better then," which is basically the first rule of brainstorming is yes and. If you're going to shut down someone's idea, you have to come up with another solution. But it's just amazing to see how they kind of work together as a band with strict deadlines, and they, apply kind of real design thinking methods in a way. They're creating a kind of minimum version of the song, getting it right, and then coming back to it later to refine it. But with AI, we have, the possibility now, especially when it comes to like products and service innovation, to almost spend more time workshopping. And this is how the product team is working at Miro now. When something would have taken 2 weeks and was more of that kind of production line approach before of, getting the insight or getting something from the roadmap, brainstorming it, the designer works on it, comes back, the engineer implements it. More of this can be done collaboratively now and in a 1 to 2 hour session, which is really exciting. And it means that you can almost work more closely with your clients. And I have actually been working recently at Miro with a really big consulting partner who have been imagining a whole new proposition that they can bring to their clients to basically facilitate their way through really exciting opportunities. And they're running this process in Miro. So you might be familiar with blueprints. You're probably familiar with templates in Miro. But to run this service, they have created a blueprint, which is basically a template in Miro that runs across multiple boards, but it contains all of the kind of AI-powered templates that they need to run this with their clients. So they start off by creating some agents that are trained on the client's data. So the customer data, for instance, so these agents can become part of the workshops that they're running. And then in the event section, they have these flows set up, a bit like how we built our prototype that I'll come back to in a moment. So all of that is ready to go. So more of the time can be spent with the thinking, collaborating, brainstorming, even just having, conversations in person and taking the transcript from that, putting that into a Miro board, and then asking the AI to synthesize, pick out the insights. So more time can be spent even, dare I say it, face to face and building relationships, which I think are another thing that's going to become more important and, of course, more valuable. But this is an example of a consultancy I've been working with to actually develop a whole new proposition, which is centered around collaborating with their clients and leveraging AI to bring ideas to life. So, of course, this points to a greater transformation. And, I've summed this up as hours to outcomes, but, I'm not going to dwell too much on this shift because I'm sure you have, greater knowledge of how this is impacting your business. But of course, we've been spending a long time helping big businesses shift and innovate when it comes to their operating model and their business model. But it's now the time to look inwards and think about how it's going to shift for consulting because WPP. They are, Cindy Rose, their new CEO, has made no secret of the fact that they're trying to move towards this model. I think their first outcome-based client relationship is with Jaguar Land Rover. This is a really interesting HBR article on how the structure of consulting firms operationally is going to need to change with these shifts. And they describe the shift from a pyramid model to an obelisk, an obelisk being this nice pointy structure on the right. But the basic point is that especially for the big consultancies, the business model has depended on having a big contingent of junior consultants who would previously be the ones writing up reports, doing the data analysis. But now it means with that work or more of that work being handled by AI and more of the value being on the kind of relationships and the thinking work that goes into those decks, then we can move towards having arguably less hierarchy and smaller teams of experts. So smaller teams focusing on better relationships and bringing that AI expertise to the table. And this might sound like terrifying, like, oh God, smaller teams, less billable hours. How are we going to make any money? But I think there's a lot of opportunity in here. And I was reading one article about how Capgemini's services previously were out of the reach of mid-market companies, but with this pivot and a shift to kind of smaller teams, AI-based services, they can now move into that market and reach a broader spectrum of clients as well. But of course, yeah, with all of this change comes the need to adapt, and that of course involves operational changes. and business model changes. So, yeah, in summary, these are the kind of three shifts that I've been kind of reflecting on. Really keen to hear your thoughts. But the first is like moving from that scarcity to abundance. We can build so much more now. Anyone can build. So the real challenge is bringing that clarity to our clients and helping them sift through the noise. This can be done now in a much more collaborative way. So spending time building relationships, exploring new ideas, exploring harder problems, and using AI in the best way to actually just further those ideas, bring them to life, communicate those ideas through PowerPoints or through prototypes. But all this shift means that we're going to have to think about how we run our teams, how we support our clients, and how we bill for this new value in this world as well. But yeah, cheesy last slide with the butterfly this time. It's yeah, it is an opportunity to rethink things, reform. And I'm excited about it because I think like good facilitation and good collaboration are at the heart of this. I read one neuroscience study that said that when we spend time collaborating together, our brain waves literally uh, sync up, which is a very lovely thought. So yeah, maybe this will give us the chance to actually spend more time collaborating on harder problems and bringing more value to our clients. But of course, it's a journey and there's a lot to be thought through. And yeah, really keen to get your perspective on all of this. Cheska, I don't know if we want to use the engage again. I'm keen to see. Can you see on the board
Yeah.
if our prototype loaded?
Let me double check now. One moment. Well, let's give some time for people to actually share their key takeaways. But if anyone wants to share out loud, like what are the things which resonated the most, just feel free to raise your hand. Love it, John already. Always can expect you to be the first. Just feel free to unmute, John.
Hi, is my mic on? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, John.
Hey, thanks. This is a wonderful presentation. You really hit upon a few notes that really resonated with me, and I noticed other people as well as you move towards the facilitation, the need for facilitation. In our work, we're process consultants, and we lead good process for global companies to build strategies. And one of the things that happens if we're not careful with our use of AI is that because of the focus on speed, people want to abandon the face-to-face consensus building that builds the emotional engine to actually implement the strategy. And so one of our challenges, which we've successfully overcome, has been to make sure that we really leverage face-to-face consensus where it's needed so that we don't leave the meeting with silent consensus or shallow consensus where people are basically head nodding what the AI instrument pulls together. But then when they go back to their respective departments, it falls apart because they really didn't have their needs met. Your example of what color should we choose for that product, green and orange. Had that combined green and orange, a lot of people would have said, first and second choice of green and orange doesn't make a good pairing.
Yeah.
In short, the need for consensus around things and using AI, almost like we used to use when we did large scale strategy, we would invite, Boston Consulting Group and McKinsey as participants. And now we use AI agents as participants along with BCG and others. And they are only used for inputs during the main part of the meeting. And the people face to face build a consensus. And then we use the AI to then synthesize. I'll stop.
No, I love those points. It's such a good point. I mean, if is there anything more important than than actual consensus? I don't know. Have you found, John, that like you can achieve that if people aren't in person, or like what are the ways that you?
Yeah, I think if for any of you folks who lead meetings and have any facilitation, experience, you'll always notice there's a handful of people in a room who already know what the answer is. And at the end of the meeting, the answer that they came up with first is the same answer that after 30 minutes of consensus, it's the exact same answer. And they say, why did we do that? And the reason where most people nod and sort of fight back is because now it's all of ours and we're going to be implementing it and we have to sell it to our teams and the workforce. So it's not just getting the right answer fast, it's getting the answer that we all can own.
Mm,
So I think we see it in real life, and I think we also see it with AI. And we've used the same human knowledge that we have from big meetings and standout people who resent consensus because they know the answer already. We use AI in the same way so that we don't fall prey to that same problem.
mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I feel like some interesting like cultural differences as well. I read an article once that kind of like plotted on a 2 by 2 like the different like cultural approaches to consensus, and like the UK, for instance, is very different to Japan, for example. But yeah, I need to dig that up and share it. But yeah,
We can put
thanks,
it
John.
on.
Sylvia,
I
I
think
can.
Sylvia had her hand. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
There.
can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
loud and clear.
Hello. So the question I wrote in chat is more about our internal transformation as a small boutique agency.
Mhm.
And the point being that the management had the mandate to turn us into an AI first company. But how? We have no point here in knowing where to start from, and that's why I think we're missing out on something. But at the same time, I wonder. I still have to meet a client, and really, this is not a provocative question. This is a genuine question. How do we move from weeks on an engagement to just hours in delivering a prototype if we still do have to go through all the stages of getting clarity from the client before having clarity ourselves, and then having anyway a workshop in which we try to understand the client context and then co-creating with the client. So that's really, I think the tension I perceive is that the process is still rather long and extensive because of also the reasons just stated. And I'm not quite clear on how we can cut it so much.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point, and there's a lot of talk of like with AI transformation moving from months to 1 hour, but that's just like kind of misunderstanding, like you say, the approach and what's important. I suppose it's, from my perspective, it is that opportunity to, you know, explore more of the solution space and increase the probability of building something better, or solving a more important problem. But yeah, like you say, maybe that's not actually about spending less time in total, but it's like to that question at the
Uh,
beginning of like, what are you spending less time on? What are you spending more time on? It's like spending more time on more important things, and
Yeah.
that could be together at the same time, like bringing those kind of different perspectives together, and then using AI to bring those ideas to life. And that could be prototyping, but it could be something else.
right.
Maybe I'll just add one more perspective to that. So we've been doing a lot of interviews with consultants and agencies who are asking the same question as you, Sylvia. Like what we've seen is the process hasn't really changed, right? All the steps you still need to go through, but what has happened is they've collapsed a lot of things which used to require a lot of time. So case in point, one delivery product development company, for example, what they've done is the things that used like research analysis, so on and so forth, used to take them ages to do. But now the 80% of the work they outsource to AI in terms of getting the first draft analysis then out. And then what they would then do is just augment that with what have they observed with humans? What are the nuances that AI might not have missed? So it's not necessarily skipping parts of the process. It's just mapping out like which parts are AI augmented and what they're more protective of for themselves. And then another thing was more around there was also a certain theme around bringing clients much earlier into the process. So, like Rory was mentioning something around co-creation and delivery. What they found was before, because it was such a step-based process, it did require a lot of like we were wasting a lot of time around back and forthing with what the correct or the right approach was. But when you bring clients into the process much more upfront, whether that be in discovery, in analysis, or brainstorming, idea generation, so on and so forth, they found that the consensus that we all wanted to do in that alignment and actually getting to the decisions which moved the project just became much faster. So hopefully
Right.
that sort of makes sense.
Thank you very much, both of you.
No worries, no worries. But lovely question. And if anyone else has a different has an approach that's worked, feel free to raise your hand so
Yes,
we can
please.
all help each other learn. And Jim. You had your hand raised.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Apologies, my camera isn't working. I'm joining you from Edinburgh in Scotland. Hello. I guess it was really a question for Rory, really. I'm in the process of trying to create something similar to what you were showing there, which is like a kind of condensed sprint to get from initial understanding through to, tested prototypes in, let's say, 5 days for argument's sake. And some of the stuff you were talking about there is really exciting. I'm working with Sada Unop, I want to say her surname is. Anyway, she's in Miro, and I'm slowly but surely trying to kind of piece the things together between flows and prototypes, etc. What I was really interested in was when you started talking about training agents on customer data and like using synthetic personas, etc., to kind of bring those things to life. And I think that one of the key things that somebody was mentioning earlier is that difference of opinion, and I think it's a good thing. It's a healthy thing to have when you're in these sessions. I've not seen anywhere on the Miroverse or any of the other things I'm reading about how to do things like that. Is there somewhere that is covered, or is that something I should just reach out to you on LinkedIn about?
Yes, I'm sure there is. I think we'll be able to find some content to share. But just on that point, yeah, it's really exciting to hear what you're building. This is if you can see on the left here,
Yep.
this is how you can create a space, which I think by the sounds of it, you're already creating.
Yeah.
But here, in this example, so it's like different boards for different purposes across, preparing, inventing, and then documenting the decisions. Once you have all these templates created, you can come up here and you can save it as a blueprint. So that doesn't just save the board, it saves like the whole space with all the templates you've created. And then in this one in particular, there's a space for creating these sidekicks. So the board itself has a place to kind of gather the data required. And then you come here to the sidekicks. My sidekick will look a little bit different to yours at the moment, just because I'm on a slightly different build of Miro. But you can come here and you can explore more sidekicks. So here you can see sidekicks that are kind of generally available. So these are ones that have been built inside Miro. And then there are sidekicks that I have built here, for example. And then you can create a sidekick by coming here, adding the name, description, and instructions. And then down here is the knowledge data. So here's where you would add the customer insight, for example. So you could use that throughout the workshop. But I think, yeah, we'll need to, Cheska and I'll find a good link for you, Jim. But I think there is a good resource with like a shared sidekick library, and then on the Miro Academy as well, they have some good videos on how to build custom sidekicks as well.
Perfect. Brilliant. Thank you for that. Just one final thought, and then I'll be quiet, is I guess just the context of what we are trying to do is like I'm part of an agency that was predominantly engineering to begin with, and as it's expanded over the years, we started to bring in design and product, etc. And I think one of the things that we find difficult as a function within product, and I guess by extension design, is that clients aren't used to the notion of discovery because they come to us with solutions rather than problems. And when our commercial teams try and sell the notion of like 4 weeks or 8 weeks to talk about stuff, it tends to get a little bit of pushback, right? So I guess what we're trying to utilize Miro and our thinking around it is if we can condense, if no one wants to pay for discovery, and it's quite hard to sell discovery, we just want to lean into that and try and condense it to smaller time possible while still getting the same outputs that we would normally get.
Yes, yeah, I've hearing that quite a lot actually. I was working with one of our customers who's a experience design agency to build some flows that you saw today precisely for discovery because the client was reluctant to pay for a long discovery period. So sadly, that was kind of the motivation behind finding ways for AI to speed things up. But yeah, I think it's a balance, isn't it? There are definitely ways that AI can speed things up and make things better, especially when it comes to synthesizing large amounts of data. But at the same time, you don't want to like completely neglect the importance of discovery and making sure you
No, not at all. I
right
think
problem.
it's that thing about increasing confidence, or perhaps decreasing confidence in the client's eyes. So, you know, a lot of the time they do come with preformed ideas of what things should be. And if you can use a condensed discovery period to just plant a couple of seeds of doubt, then that opens up a new conversation.
Yes, yeah, 100%. And I suppose it's like part of the discovery is the early experimentation as well, and the cost of that has definitely come down with the ease of prototyping and running experiments now. So
for sure.
Sylvia seems to have Sylvia, you want to share
I
your
just
2
want to
cents
show
on
that
that?
this is our prototype that we built.
Cool.
This was the one with our input. It took a bit longer than usual, but you can see here this is the experience that we can
It's amazing.
through. It's taken all the ideas, generate a shopping list, revised meal plan, and it's for some reason it's called Bake It Till You Make It. There you go. That's
And all running in the
very
background.
consensus built prototype, which might not be the best way to run these kind of workshops, but you get the idea. AI can help us bring the ideas to life.
It's amazing.
Cool. Sorry, I didn't want to monopolize the conversation, but I really resonate with what Jim was saying. So we do face some difficulty in selling the value of the discovery part and of the design part because since AI made it so cheap to build stuff, the client wants stuff. But the point is, we do not want to build the wrong thing just because it's cheap, because at the end of the day, we need to deliver the right thing anyway. So another tension that I'm facing, even internally with our internal clients, is how to ensure that while we do try our best to compress this stage as much as we can with all these tools, at the same time, we don't lose sight of the value that there is in the discovery part, and that we make sure that this value is perceived as well and paid for possibly. So do you have any suggestions on this?
On the selling or demonstrating of discovery, or like how AI can play a role in the discovery?
No, I'm fine with how to integrate AI. I'm still not clear on how to ensure that the value is still there and is still perceived and sellable.
I think it's what you said. This is just on like convincing that we need to build the right thing. And I think there's, the honeymoon period of like being able to build anything with AI. It's like people are realizing that, that just leads to a kind of a drift where we're all moving in different directions, or AI slop, and so if we leverage these tools in the right way, it's super exciting. But if we leverage them in the wrong way, then we're not going to be bringing value. So I don't know. That's probably not a very good answer, but I feel that the people are kind of coming back.
I think everyone has a.
Yeah. Maybe
Let's
Jen,
ask Jen and Castaway.
Yeah, I'll just jump in. The way I see it, you can either spend a decent amount of time doing the discovery and de-risking the development and the whole prototyping, developing, shipping. Or given the speed of everything, you can kind of shorten that period of discovery, iterate, and just get something out the door and get market feedback on whether or not it's valuable or not, right? That way you're actually getting real feedback from real customers. Now there's more risk and it's all that mindset, right? Like, are your leaders, are your clients able to digest? Do they have the appetite for that kind of risk and see all that failure? Because that's what it would take to really get the value out of the speed, getting to market, seeing all the things that fail, but then getting that one thing that didn't. So just some thoughts on your question, Sylvia. Love it. Great conversation.
Thank you, Jen. Thanks for your
Kaz, do you want to come in as well?
Kaz?
Yeah, I'll just echo a little bit what Jen said, which I agree with, is let me bring it back to actually what we've just done here, because this is the point here. So a lot of what I do, I work for a Microsoft partner, is a lot of this sort of discovery, and I face that challenge, Silver, that you're in. So we're flipping to talking about outcomes. So again, let's think about the session we did here. So Rory, you've just said, right, hey, I want to gather some requirements from you, and we want to try and build this app. Great. We might be really eager to come up with solutions and ideas, and we want to see something. Now, what we've been able to do here is you've been able to demonstrate to us that we can use AI to visualize our idea really, really quickly. But also as well, importantly, you can use that to then bring it back to, hey, let's talk about the outcome. Let's talk about what we're trying to achieve. Let's make sure we've got that detail. Look, this stuff's going to help us do this quickly, but let's not forget what we're really trying to do. Let's do this properly. And I think that is how you combat people's desire to say, well, AI is going to let you do it quicker, so just get on with it. Hey, we can just do it, fast, and let's skip the steps. We don't have to discuss this. AI is really clever, blah, blah, blah. Whilst also then demonstrating that it can help you, while still doing all the things we should do, which is not skipping those steps, not, letting AI take over and build things, because it can create insecure solutions and things like that. So that's why I am really keen on what you've produced here, Rory, because I do this with using some of the Microsoft technology that I do, and I'm coincidentally going into a session tomorrow where I've spun up a prototype using Copilot today. But I wanted to see doing this in Miro, because being able to do it collaboratively, having that little bit of a wow moment, and showing someone you can produce this, you can then stop and say, hey, look, seems great. Now, let's get back to the conversation, because you can see we're going to be able to produce some great stuff off this, but we need to feed it better. A lot of it comes from education. With AI, I talk a lot about context. These tools need context. Rory built some quick context and was managed to produce something great there. Imagine if you had even stronger context, how good that prototype would have looked. And then that's how you bring it back to outcomes and things like that. For me, anyway.
Thank you for weighing in, both Jen and Cass. I think the conversations are super great, and this is the sort of thing Rory just dropped out. I guess his computer decided to take a bit of a day off, but it like to your point, right? It's there's something around bringing clients into the process and making sure that they're actually bought into the outcomes that you're all driving towards, and making sure that they see the value of that rather than just presenting them with the outputs of what you created. So there's something around the transparency and the trust that you build in the process, which would let them value your expertise as a consultant even more. There's a lot of meat here, but we have 1 minute left. So I just love to thank Rory, who I hope is back now.
I'm back.
Yay,
Sorry, I
he's
dropped off
back.
just at the end. I thought it might have been Kaz, and then I realized it was me. But I heard like all the awesome points that you made. And thank you
Lovely.
as well. Thanks for having me.
Let's thank you to Rory for sharing his learnings and his flip over, or his reminiscing back into his consultancy days. Let's all give him a warm round of applause, guys. And thank you to everyone who's sharing your time. You always show up and share your time with us. You always share really insightful questions and your own experience. So I really, really appreciate that you're part of this little community we're building. If you like this one, I'd love to see you in the upcoming session we're having this July. I'm dropping some links there in chat. So we have one called the AI operating model coming up on July 23rd. So that's a good one around tools and frameworks that growing agencies need when they're building. You can RSVP in the link there. Say hello to Rory and myself on LinkedIn. I'd love to know what resonates with you guys and what topics you'd like to see more of. And yeah, I really hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we see you in the next session. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.